All right, so again, everyone, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for taking the time to join today's webinar. I'm Renika Lightborn, and I'm really delighted to be joined by a very special guest today, Mr. Ramon from University of Wealth Building and Flipology. So Ramon, thank you for being our guest speaker today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Ramon is going to cover the ins and outs of fixing and flipping and, just what the overall process typically looks like, how you as an investor can go about analyzing deals and making sure that you're making the right offer for a property, and also choose to make sure that the property is being properly renovated. But before I turn it over, I just want to give you just a quick overview of what self-directing is and some of the different options available to you. If you have questions, definitely feel free to type those in the question box. We'll do our very best to answer those as we go throughout, and of course, allocate some time at the very end as well. Again, I'm Renika Lightborn. I'm one of the business development specialists at Advanta. I've been with Advanta as an employee since 2019. Prior to joining the staff, I'm also a client of Advanta, so I personally self-direct my retirement account. Real estate happens to be one of my preferred strategies. So for you, if you want to do a deeper dive or talk about your exact scenario, definitely feel free to send me an email or give me a call, and I'm happy to talk through your options with you. So just a little housekeeping before we get started. At Advanta, we don't give any tax, legal, or investment advice. We also don't endorse any particular products. Just know that all of the information that we do present is just more so for educational purposes. So we always encourage you to continue to do your due diligence, consult with your professional team before you make any investment. So just a little history about Advanta and who we are. We've been in the business for nearly 20 years, as we are recognized as one of the leading self-directed IRA administrators in the country. Our headquarters is located in Largo, Florida, which is the Tampa Bay area, and we also have an office here in Atlanta. But we do work with clients nationwide, as we have well over $1 billion under our administration. At Advanta, we take great pride in providing our clients that concierge-style service. So for you, that means you would have a dedicated account manager, a direct point of contact, someone who's there to guide you as you go through the investment process. And then, of course, our commitment to providing an educational platform where we have guest speakers and experts like Ramon coming to knowledge share with our audience. So if you're relatively new to the concept of self-directing, just know that self-directed just simply means that you as the account holder have complete control over the retirement funds. You have control over the investment decisions. It really gives you the ability to diversify your account as you have, it's near universal in terms of the investment options available to you. Today, we're going to focus on real estate and fix and flip, but you can use IRA funds to invest in notes and mortgages, or if you wanted to say be the bank where you do private lending or invest in, say, a startup company or digital assets, which is pretty popular right now. The list goes on and on in terms of the options available to you. So this is just a small sample size. So in terms of why do people choose to self-direct, you might look to self-direct for any number or combination of reasons. One, it can be a new source of capital for you. So let's say if you have an old 401k that's just sitting idle, or you have an IRA an existing IRA and you feel like you can get better returns, you can elect to move those funds over to fund your next project. Another reason as to why someone may self-direct is because of the volatility in the stock market. No one can actually time the market. One day it's up, the next day it's down. But a lot of investors use self-directed accounts because they like to buy real estate or hold real estate just because we know it always retains some value. And then lastly, the tax benefits, having those profits, those rents, those dividends flow back into the retirement account, tax-free or tax-deferred, just depending on the type of account that you have. In terms of the different types of accounts, just know that any type of IRA can be self-directed. It's either a traditional IRA, which is tax-deferred funds, or a Roth IRA, which is after-tax dollars. Or if you're self-employed or have a side business, you can look to self-direct, say, a SEP, simple, or solo 401k. A solo 401k has great flexibilities. Any former employer plan, like a 401k, 403b, or a TSP type plan, also qualifies to be self-directed. Some lesser known accounts, like educational savings account or an HSA to cover medical related expenses, can be used to self-direct as well. The key thing to take away is just knowing that the contribution levels varies between the different types of accounts. And then of course with a Roth, Your distribution will be tax-free at retirement as long as you've had that account for at least 5 years and you're at 59 and a half. When you're ready to get started, we've really streamlined that process for you in 3 simple steps. Step 1, first and foremost, is going through the process of completing the application to open your account. Myself or one of my colleagues will be there to assist you on the front end. But once your account is open, you will have that dedicated account manager. Step 2 is funding the account. So you have several options. You can roll over funds from that former employer plan. You have that existing IRA. You can transfer as much or as little as you want or need to. There's no tax liabilities for you to do that. Or you can make a cash contribution or a combination of all 3. And then finally, step 3, start investing. What is it that you want to invest in? Do you want to buy that fix and flip or, that distressed property down the street to fix and flip in your IRA? The options are near limitless for you. So that covers my brief introduction. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ramon so he can, let me change presenter. And Ramon, you can go ahead and, I don't know if you have the ability to see.
So should I share my screen?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I think I just did. Can you see my screen now?
Just bear with me 1 moment.
Okay.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Go full screen. Okay, how's that?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay, great. Well, good. It's afternoon now. Good afternoon, everyone. Renika, thank you for having me speak today. I do want to talk a little bit about how to find, fund, fix, and flip. And it is our 4-step process, which is an industry process to get to having a successful fix and flip. So we'll go ahead and get started. A little bit about me. I'm Ramon Tooks. I'm a native of Atlanta, and I have been in the business now 26 years, going into 27 years. I won't say it's always been cookies and cream, but we know how to keep going and we make it through. So again, I'm the father of 5, born right here in Atlanta, and I started at the age of 19. And again, like I said, this is going in the year 27. So I can talk about real estate all day. I sleep, eat, dream it. I believe in it. And so again, I have the honor of being here today just to speak a little bit more about fixing and flipping. All right, so fixing and flipping is one of the main strategies. When you're talking about real estate investing, there are 3 strategies: buy and hold, that's fixing and flipping, and there's wholesaling. Today, we're going to talk about fixing and flipping just because it's one of those 3. And I like all 3 of them. So people ask me all the time, which one is the best or which one you like more. I like them depending on the situation, which I'll talk a little bit more about here shortly. I don't think there's a cookie cutter answer, except for how you're going to exit the property or exit the deal. And my answer is always which one's going to bring me the best profit. And it's not always the most profit, it's the best profit, whether it be short term, long term, or the least headache. All right. This is what we buy based on. Right now, the market is, and I'll talk about this when I'm talking about finding deals, but right now the market is very, very competitive. So right now you should buy based upon what's available. The strategy that you're using, you may decide to pick one neighborhood and a deal may not come in that neighborhood for a year based upon what's happening right now. So what's available based on your needs, based on your resources, and then based on your knowledge. I wouldn't tell someone that is focused on buy and holding to just start wholesaling tomorrow, or vice versa, or someone that's looking for a fix and flip. I wouldn't tell you just to start buying and holding unless you get some knowledge of that, of buying and holding. So again, there's no cookie cutter answer to selecting which exit strategy you use. But today we're going to talk about fixing and flipping and why we choose fixing and flipping. And if you guys have any questions, like Renika said, please put them in the chats. Hopefully I'll see them. If not, Renika, we can answer whatever questions needs to be answered at the end.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So which strategy do you choose and why? Most people choose fix and flipping because of it's attractive because of the potential quick, large profits. When we say quick, large profits, we see the shows on TV. We hear about all of the, I only invested X and I made X, and which is a good return. Most fix and flips should take less than a year. I've had some that go longer. We hit roadblocks, and you have to understand how to navigate through those roadblocks. Sometimes we're going to talk about how you exit those roadblocks, but sometimes, you have those roadblocks, and because of the relationships and your partnerships, you learn how to get out of those roadblocks. So I advocate partnerships. I advocate having the right mentors, because those are the ways that I've learned, other than, beating myself up and learning on my own. So again, we choose flipping for the most part because it's attractive, because of the potential large profits. All right. Like I said earlier, fixing and flipping, there are 4 main steps: find, fund, fix, and flip. This is what we call our Flipology formula. If you see it, we start with finding, of course. We're going to talk about that here shortly. Funding, you're all here at Advanta IRA, and using your IRA account to fund these deals is one of the best ways I've seen folks invest into fixing and flipping. Then fixing is where it makes or breaks the deal. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. And then flipping, which is our last stage, is when you get the house sold. All right. All right. So just a couple of deals that we've done before. This is, one of the tough deals. It was a fire damaged property here in Georgia in Cobb County, actually in Ackworth. So it turned out pretty good. Was it tough? Yes, it was tough. It wasn't a 30-day project like you see on TV. Again, it went from being burned and totally damaged to, it looked pretty nice, and it did sell pretty quickly once we got it to the market. Here's another one. This one was a pretty easy deal. It wasn't any structural issue. It was mostly cosmetic, so it was probably about a 90-day project from the time we purchased to the time we sold or finished it. This one was downtown Atlanta. Here is probably one of our, I'll call it one of our most stressful deals. But it sold. It was out in Decatur, Georgia, so it took about a year or so, a little bit over a year to get this one done, but we got it done with all permits, and the buyers loved it. So it was a major transformation on this one. All right, so we have examples. Again, I've been in the business now for a little bit over 26 years. So we have examples of all different types of exit strategies, but fixing and flipping is where we're focused on a lot. And so I just want to quickly break down the 4 steps and then answer any questions that you may have. So first step is finding deals. Currently, the market, and if you guys are looking at the news, if you're looking at, if you're talking to real estate agents and brokers and lenders, the toughest part of the market right now is being able to find a deal. This is for traditional homeowners. This is for investors. And so I always start off with talking about what is a deal. What is a deal for you may not be a deal for me, and vice versa. I look at returns on what I invest. Some people look at a return on, how much they can turn over a year. So that is one of the things I always look at. What is a deal? Traditionally, in our world, we were buying properties, and we would use this formula. And if you guys don't know this formula, you can definitely type something, a question, and we can go into a little bit more details. But we use the formula of purchasing 65% of the ARV, and I call it the 65% ARV rule, which means you multiply whatever you can sell that property for. So, for an example, if that property after being renovated is worth, let's say $100,000 just for even numbers, and you multiply that by 65%, which gives you $65,000, and you subtract the repairs. So if the repairs are $20,000, a deal on that property would be $45,000. That was prior to the past couple of years. With the market being as competitive as it is, we are now going up into the 70% of the ARV. So now that same property, we would probably pay about 10% more. All right, that makes it a deal. Once you start getting above that 75% of the ARV, again, the after repair value, it starts to get a little bit too close for us. So I don't consider deals where people are paying 80 to 85% if they're going to flip it a deal. Because if you're selling the property, you have to pay a real estate agent or broker, which is 6%. If you're using any kind of financing, that's going to cost you some money. And even if you're using your IRA, there are some fees associated with it if you're partnering with other kind of funding. So again, traditionally, we said prior to this super competitive market, we would not, a deal is something that's 65% all in of the after repair value or appraised value after it's renovated. Okay. I don't know, Renique, I don't know if there are any questions coming in, but I want to be able to touch all 4 steps, and then I can come back to any questions. Is that fine?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I do have a question coming in, but we can hold it at the allocate time at the very end to answer.
You know what? Do you want to ask me the question? That way I can touch it while I'm on finding.
Yeah, absolutely. So the question is, isn't that percentage impact by the cost of capital and the renovation costs?
You say is what? I'm sorry.
So the question came in based on your comment. Isn't that percentage impacts by the cost of capital and the renovation costs?
So this formula, traditionally, the reason why it's 65% because it took into account those numbers. So again, if you take 65% of what it's worth after you renovate it, and you subtract from that the renovation cost, that is the top number that you should be paying. Here's the difference. Somebody that's using hard money versus somebody that's using cash somebody that's using cash can pay a little bit more because the cost of the money will cost us a little bit more. For example, if I'm paying 75 cents on a dollar, and that means I got about a 25% margin minus the cost of my capital minus the commission, somebody that's using all cash could probably pay a little bit more and make the same kind of profit. So this formula takes into account the construction, but it gives that leeway for the cost of your capital. Hopefully that answered that question. Okay. So last thing I want to talk about briefly on finding deals, there are at least 7 ways, and I say there are at least, I know that there's 10, but at least 7 ways to find deals. So when you're out here in a market like today, I'm going to say the number 1 way to find deals is based on relationships. Building relationships with other people that are in the industry, wholesalers, real estate agents, and brokers will help you find deals a lot easier than just bidding on what's on the market. We're always looking for off-market deals. We also bid on deals on the market, but those ways, so number 1 is relationships. Number 2, what I'm going to say is you need to be speaking with your attorneys who sometimes come across deals. Number 3 is at the auction, whether it be the foreclosure auction or the tax auction. And if you're buying at the tax auction, you're just having to wait a little bit longer. Depending on what state you're in, it can be from 12 months to 36 months. And that's something that you can put in your portfolio and maybe fix and flip it later. Another way that we're finding deals is we're doing what they call drive for dollars. So we're out there looking for deals on a daily basis in neighborhoods. And then the last way that I want to talk about that you can find deals is we do a lot of marketing. So postcards, cold calling. So we're buying lists and we're doing cold calling. So between those ways, those 7 ways, we're finding our own deals or we're partnering with folks to find deals. Any questions?
Yes, I did have a couple questions that came in. So one of the questions is, how do you decide if you need to change your strategy from, say, a flip to a hold, or even if you just need to wholesale it?
Okay, so I'm gonna go back a couple slides just so I can touch what I said here, and I'll come back to it, Renique. So when I talked about why we buy, so 1, if you buy based on what's available, if let's say a multifamily comes up, which we don't have a lot here in Atlanta, But if you're looking for cash flow and your finances are fine with you holding that for a long term, then I choose, for me, I go down the list. Whatever's available, what's the best use? So if it's a deal that I can flip pretty quickly and make, or I think I can flip pretty quickly and make a decent return to invest in a buy and hold, then that's what I'll do. If we are, if it's a deal that doesn't fit, my goal to fit my plan, then I wholesale it. Or if we need capital right away, then we'll wholesale it. So anything that doesn't fit my needs at that time, then I decide to wholesale it. Because, you may be someone that's doing a buy and hold and you love buying holds, but an opportunity for a good fix and flip may come, then you fix and flip it. If it doesn't fit your buy and hold needs or your fix and flip needs, then I would say wholesale it.
Okay. Next question is, what is the telltale sign of an off-market property that may sell at a discount? How do you source those types of deals effectively?
So you say what's a telltale sign?
Yes, for off-market properties that may sell at a discount, and how do you source those?
So again, we use one of those 7 ways to find deals, and so what I tell my team is don't get into the hype of, it's almost like being at the auction right now, whatever you're bidding on, just stick with your formula, stick with your numbers. If you're not willing to pay more than 75% of the ARV, don't budge on that number. Don't get into, there's a shortage of deals or, anything like that, because there are always going to be deals. There are always going to be deals. You just have to be patient and you have to look at more properties. So telltale sign is if it fits my formula. If it does not fit my formula, we move on to the next deal.
Okay. Speaking of formula, so what is MAO, and are you always do you always go by that formula? Is that just a quick level, high level formula that you use?
So, some people call it MAO, so maximum allowable offer, which is what I just talked about when I said you take 65 to 75% of the ARV and subtract the repairs. Once you subtract the repairs, that is your MAO. That's your maximum allowable offer. We call it the top offer, so we use different terms, but industry says MAO. It is a good formula. If you are creative enough, sometimes you can pay a little bit more for that, especially in this market. But you have to know what you're doing. I would say stick to that formula, especially if you're new. You don't want to get tangled up in something that you're going to overpay for it if you're using like maximizing your money.
Okay. Next question is, how can you decide what area to invest in? Should I do 1 to 3 hours away from where I live?
Well, that's a good question. I think you choose based upon the team that you've built. Most of us, people like to invest in their own backyard, but I think anywhere, so I'm the person that says you can invest anywhere with the right system. Because even if you're investing 4 doors down from next door to your house, if you don't understand construction and you don't have a good team, it could go bad. So whether it's 1 hour away or 5 hours away, without the right system, it could not be the way you want it to be. So I don't confine myself to a boundary, and I often tell people not to confine themselves, especially in a market like today.
Okay. Next question is, how do you partner with self-directed investors?
So we've had folks as lenders or as when I first started, Renique, and I'll tell you this, this was 20 plus years ago. All of our lenders were self-directed or they were coming from like an IRA company. But, we partner in various ways. So as lenders or just simply as partners.
Okay, that's good to know. And I'm glad you referenced that. Self-directing itself, believe it or not, has been around for a very long time. So since the 70s. So it's good to know that you've been partnering with self-directed investors for that length of time. Next question I have is, where can I learn more about your fix and flip course? So where can I learn more about fixing and flipping?
Okay, so we offer different courses. I guess, Renika, we can talk about that at the end if need be. But, Flipology, as Renika introduced us, is our fixing and flipping course that we offer quarterly. And again, we could talk a little bit more. Renika, I know for time's sake, I would like to get through the other ones. So if there's any more on finding, we can revisit those at the end, just so we can make sure we have enough time. Is that fine?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Okay. All right. So first step is finding. Second step is funding. And there are a ton of ways to fund your deals. Today, we're talking about using your IRA, of course. But I always suggest, if you're working with folks, if you're partnering, whether you're partnering with your IRAs or if you're using, any kind of traditional loan lending, of course, cash, loans, partnerships. But today, as Renika talked about, using your IRA for tax deferred or tax free money, I would always say fund your deals with those, because why not? You're growing your retirement using these strategies that we're talking about, or a combination of them. Again, there's a few ways to fund deals. I always say there's no shortage on funding as long as you know how to use the funding. Okay, and Renika, I know you again explained the way to use the IRA, but I've seen it used to purchase deals, to lend on deals, and to be partners on deals. So I would look at all three of those depending on the deal if I was, someone that's attending this webinar. Any questions on funding? Because I want to get into the fun stuff, which is the fixing.
So one question that came in, which is related to IRAs. Can I use my own Advanta IRA to fund my own fix and flip? You can partner with yourself to do a fix and flip, but you can't use your IRA funds to fund an investment property on the other side. So just mindful of the few restrictions. Your IRA is not allowed to transact with certain disqualified person. You're considered a disqualified person, meaning your IRA cannot be on the opposite side of the table from you, but you can certainly partner, meaning you put in money personally, your IRA put in money, and you fix up the property. That's certainly an option for you.
Okay, thank you, Renika. That was a good question, though, because a lot of people, we get asked that question, which is why we partner with Advanta to answer those questions, because we don't know that side of it. And so thankfully, Advanta is here to protect you guys and guide you guys the right way. All right. So funding your deals, I always say, is probably the easy part when you're working with someone like Advanta, and you understand how to use your funds accordingly. All right. I call this stage, I'm going to say this is the most important stage out of the four. This is the stage where I've had my most struggles. This is where I can give you my great stories and my horror stories. This is the one where most investors get in trouble. And so I know we hear people say you make money on the buy, but I think you earn the money during the fix. You can have a great deal when you're going into it, and if something happens while you're fixing it, it could cause the most headache. So again, to me, this is the most challenging and the most important stage out of the find, fund, fix, flip formula. But it's also where the profits made. And so over the past 26 and a half years, I have experienced several hundred fix and flip. And so, we have come up with ways to minimize certain headaches. Now, we do run into something new on a regular basis. When the pandemic hit, we learned something new. Different projects make you learn something new. Over time, I have come up with a 60-step process to renovating the property. And again, I still can add in more steps. But if you think about it, if you follow these 60 steps, it's still things that can happen. So don't think it's 10 steps. Don't think it's 15 steps. It's 60 plus steps to properly renovate the property. And I promise y'all, if you skip one, you may overcome it, but normally something happens that did not have to happen if you follow from steps 1 through 60. And I say 60 plus because every single project, I'm adding something and making something a little bit better. Okay. And I could go, if we had time, I could go through those 60 steps. Just know that there are 60 steps. There's 60 steps, and I say it's 3 stages. And the 3 stages of fixing your deals are pre-development, or pre-construction, the construction phase, and then the post-construction or post-development, right? And the pre-development begins with understanding the zoning of the property that you're about to renovate. What is it going to take you to get a permit? Making sure you have enough money to complete the renovation, making sure you've selected and interviewed contractors, and making sure you have the right paperwork done. So again, the pre-development is critical because it gives you that roadmap to get through the entire project. Even if something happens throughout, at least you have that roadmap and you can get back on course. Again, I'm telling you guys that there's 60 steps and 3 stages because I've done quite a few of these, and every single time I've skipped a step, I pay for it, whether it be lose money or not make as much money, however you want to look at it. The second stage after pre-development is the actual construction stage, and this stage requires micromanagement. So it requires micromanagement from either you or your team. There's a lot of people that work, a traditional job, and so they feel like they don't have time to do this. But I tell you, the most important piece of any of this construction, the fixing stage, is having the right inspectors and the right project managers. Don't skimper on the inspectors and the project managers because they are the people that are your eyes and ears. They're the people that are going to give you those pictures and those videos. They are the people that I tell you that have our backs, and they should. It costs a little bit more, but I believe in having the project inspected. It's during this 60-step process, probably about 20 times. And yep, it cost me anywhere from $50 to $75 per, but it has saved my life, saved my business quite often. Okay. So in step 3, you're gonna have to micromanage with your team, your real estate agent, whoever's gonna sell it, and your inspectors. And then stage 3 is the post development, which is I say it's the easiest part because that's when you go into the flip and you're cleaning it, you're making sure you got all your final permitting, and you're doing your walkthrough with your team. Okay, so again, y'all, fixing, and I'm sure there's some questions on fixing. Renika and I would love to take the questions on fixing.
Okay, I did have a question. So how do you find contractors to do the rehab? Like, how do you vet them?
So again, remember I said this is the toughest part of it, right? Because when you're talking about finding deals, I believe that there's an abundance of deals. There's a ton of people that will partner with you. When you're talking about funding, there's funding, and you guys are here because of you have some type of IRA account, so you have your own funding, and you can get more funding. When you get into the fixing stage, we have to make sure we follow these steps, and then we're dealing with people. So my first, the way I first started looking for contractors is I ask for referrals. I talk to my friends and people that are in the industry. If I'm, in a place that I'm familiar with, if I'm in a new city, we talk to people that are at the RIA, so the Real Estate Investment Associations. When I select my team, my real estate agent and broker, I hope that they have some referrals for us. And then I start to look at the jobs that these people are doing. I go to current job sites and see what kind of quality work they're doing. I look at, I talk to some of their past clients. And so again, that's kind of the first way I start looking at it. And then it's going to be trial and error. You can have a contractor that's good on 5 jobs, and job number 6, he just, he's probably overbooked himself or something may happen. So you always want to keep a few kind of in your, back pocket. But it's trial and error and referrals. Okay. Any other questions, Renika, on fixing?
I had one question that came up about permits.
Do we get permits?
Yes.
So here's my rule. If it's anything more than cosmetics, yes, we get permits. And when I say cosmetics, mainly paint and flooring. Maybe we can change out a cabinet. Anything other than that, yes. Any kind of additions, you must get them. And this protects you. Sometimes it takes longer. It costs a little bit more. But in the end, you will be grateful that you got your permits because, one, sometimes the buyers, agents, or lenders want a record of what you've done. Sometimes the appraisal wants to know exactly what you did so they can increase your value. So if it's anything that's going to take you more than a couple of weeks, I'm going to say get a permit.
Okay. So next question is, do you have a checklist to share of the 60+ steps for renovating?
We can give you some. I mean, I don't have it right here, Renika. I can. If they reach out to me, we can figure out how to get them a couple of steps.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And so, just so we can have time for questions. So flipping, I'm going to say, is the easiest stage. And I know we consider the entire process as flipping, but the last step in the find, fund, fix, flip formula, it should really be the easiest stage. If you have found a great deal, you use your funding to finance the deal, and then you went through the fixing stage. You went through all the steps, and in the end, it's a pretty project. The reason why I say this is the easiest step is because if you have a great real estate agent or broker that you're working with who should have worked along with you the entire way, and this is not, switching around agents and brokers, but if they work with you from step 1 through step 60, through from pre-development to post-development, all you're doing at this point is handing it over to them, and they are handling the rest. That's why I always say flipping is the easiest, because once you're done with construction, they take it, they list it, they sell it. And that's it. Go ahead, Renika, you were going to say something.
Question came in. Can you talk about the inspection process?
So yeah, I'll go back. So any questions on flipping? Because it is literally, flipping is your exit strategy. Flipping when we talk about it here is just getting the property sold. I can go back and talk about the inspection portion. Do you have any questions on flipping?
Yeah, one question. So, do you have a standard of what improvements do you typically tackle in a flip? Is it just always kitchen, bathroom? You have a standard?
So it depends on, and again, it depends on what neighborhood you're in. If you're doing suburban houses, it's probably going to be about the same. Price range makes a difference, but of course, like kitchen and baths are critical. We do a lot of major flips, so there's a lot of pop the top add on for us. So the colors of the industry right now, white walls or gray walls, hardwood floors, gray or white kitchen cabinets. Some people are going with blue. So it's everybody's almost doing about the same thing. So I think, if you stuck with what's happening or what's selling, I look at my competition to get like really close to it, because I know that's what people are buying. I look at what have just sold in the past 3 to 6 months. Again, I know that that's what buyers are looking for. And so that's what I do to our properties.
Okay.
All right. And the question about inspection, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
Just bear with me. Let me go back to it.
Okay.
Question is, so what about inspection? Do you ask the inspector to focus on any major?
So this is the reason why I say this. I talk about during the 60-step process, my inspector or team inspects the property at least 20 times. So when we first start, even if it's a complete renovation, like I know that we're going to completely gut it, I have an inspection done, and I'm looking at structure. So before we, go out to permitting and get people going, I want to know that the structure foundation is sound. And if it's not, we just adjust the price accordingly. Throughout the process, even when I'm getting inspections from the county, I want my inspectors to take a look at the major things. Again, the foundation, the framing, the MEP, so heating, air, electrical, and plumbing, to make sure we are up to code. And then even if we're getting permitted and inspected, my guys still come back and make sure that, our job is done the right way. So they're looking at the major things. Now my inspectors don't look at, paint and, cabinetry. They don't look at that kind of stuff for them. They just look at the major items for them to make sure that they're done properly.
Okay. Next question that came in is, what is the potential resale value? Obviously, that's going to depend on the area and the market, but the question is, what is the potential resale value?
Yeah, so it just depends on the area. What we do is we look at, if we're talking about in town, we do our best to stay within a quarter of a mile. the subject properties that sold should be within a quarter of a mile and sold within the past 6 months. Some you have to go a little bit further out, but you got to be careful and understand the neighborhood. So the retail value just depends on what you're comparing it to and what kind of renovation you're doing.
Okay. Next question is, what adjustments did you have to make while investing during the pandemic?
So during the pandemic, I think the biggest adjustment initially was because the municipalities closed down, so the cities kind of closed down. So understanding how to use the process of not having a city inspector come out, we were using engineers to inspect the properties. But other than that, it hasn't been much of an adjustment. I mean, I think we've gotten more automated, which is a good thing for me because I'm like an old paper Excel sheet guy, and so it made me become getting better. And like I said, we get better every day. So other than that, nothing more has changed. I mean, prices have gone up. The prices of material and labor have gone up. So that's just adjusting your numbers, but not much has changed during the pandemic. Just getting better with the automation piece of it.
Okay. Next question is, what type of business is best for house flipping? Should I do an LLC?
Now that's something that I would speak with your accountant and your attorney about. I wouldn't. We don't give that kind of advice.
Okay, understood. Let's see. More questions. What are the risks associated with fixing and flipping?
All right. So let me say this one here, right? Here are your risks. A good question, right on time. The risk are you can lose money, and it can be a very stressful, like anything else, though, like any other business, it can be stressful. But the rewards, in my opinion, outweigh the risk. And I got a few listed here. You can make money, short term and long term. You can learn a lot of business development, a lot of business skills. I think my biggest reward over 26 plus years is really the relationships that I've developed because they've allowed us to continue to go through even tough times. And you're going to need very good relationships because things will change. If the market changes, you got to be able to change with it, and you got to be able to have a support team and the relationships and the mentors to guide you through the challenging times, I will say.
Okay. Just going through and seeing if there's more questions that's popping up.
Okay. And Renika, while you're doing that, one thing I will recommend to anyone that's either getting started or scaling up is really to make sure you're part of a network or a group of folks that are doing it on a daily basis. Because normally, even if I haven't went through it, one of my partners or associates have been through whatever challenge you're making, so they can make it a lot easier for you. Don't do this business on an island. Don't do it on your own. Just make sure you're part of some real. Make sure you're talking to folks on a regular basis, and get with people with different experiences. Have a partner that's in LA and a partner that's in Columbus, Georgia, because there are different markets, so people can give you different strategies to make sure you're being successful.
Okay. I did have another question come in. Can you go over the 7 ways to find projects again, find properties?
Yes, I can. So, and it may not be in the same order, but one of the, and I'm going to say the number one way is to have a relationship with a good relationship with real estate agents and brokers, because they not only find deals that are on the market, but they have off-market deals. So I always, plug, being a great real estate agent or real estate broker. Number 2 is, working with other investors, as other investors and wholesalers that will bring you deals. Don't be afraid of the competition, because we all like to work together. Things that I don't have, I don't mind wholesaling them to the people that are, in our circle. And so that's the ways that people get deals. I think number 3, using a method called driving for dollars. So actually going out, when you're riding around looking for deals that look like they need a little help, whether it be tall grass, tarps on the roof, old for sale signs in the yard, just telltale signs. You guys can always Google driving for dollars. Number 4 and 4, 5, and 6 can kind of all go in the same category, but your marketing, so marketing is doing some lead generation. So postcards still work. It costs a lot, but it works. The second way is cold calling. So buying a list, having a skip trace of buying a list that already has telephone numbers with, some kind of seller and making the calls or having someone else make the calls. And then I think that's 5 or 6. And then I would say speaking with your attorney. So that'll be 6. So probate attorneys, divorce attorneys, all have continued leads. And then number 7, going to auction. So, for sale auction and tax auction. Both ways there are deals that are for sale. You just have to know, all of them are different. So you have to know how to work each one of these type lead generations, 7 lead generations.
Okay, I have a 2-part question. So do you partner with other investors, and also where can I learn more about fixing and flipping?
So we, so yes, on the first question, but 2, we do offer fixing and flipping courses called Flipology, and then on a weekly basis, we all get together. Renika, I don't know if you had an opportunity to come, but we do deal makers, and we used to do it in person. We miss it in person, but we're still doing it virtually, where our team and I guess people from all over the country now get together and just analyze deals, and so that we're becoming better investors, and that's called Deal Makers Global.
Yes, and I've had the opportunity to attend while in person, so I'll definitely look to attend the online forum. So I have another question. What insurance is needed to do a fix and flip?
So you need what they call even if you're not using a lender, you need what they call builder's risk. It is a little bit more expensive than your traditional insurance, but builder's risk insurance or insurance companies understand the process that we're going through. Of course, they're insurance companies, so if something happens, you have to fight a little bit, but they are probably the only ones that are going to insure a property that's vacant and gutted, or a property that's going to go through that full process.
Okay, next question, just circling back. Are there lists to purchase for parties that are already in financial distress?
I'm sorry, Nick, you went out on me.
My apologies. Question is, just circling back, are there lists to purchase of parties that are already in financial distress?
Yeah, so you can buy lists. And we have a couple people here in Atlanta. There's a couple services, but there are pre-foreclosure lists. There are lists where you're talking about code violation lists. There are lists that people are having issues with their tenants, so eviction lists. So there are a number of lists that you can buy or put together to kind of find your avatar, that seller that you want to be reaching out to.
Okay, and I have one last question. What's your outlook for real estate?
I think, I think we'll be fine. It's going to be probably some kind of slowdown, but I think people for the past 3 years have been predicting this huge crash. I think because of what we went through in 2008 through 2009, I don't think the great American system is going to allow us to crash that way. But it'll be some kind of correction. And again, none of us know, even when you have these people that predict, whatever's going to happen, I don't think anybody knows, because right now we're in a market that I've never seen in 20. I don't think anybody's ever seen where there's, supposedly, and I'm going to put quotations up, a shortage of inventory. And the interest rates are super low. I think when they start raising it, when the interest rate starts to go up, I think the market will cool down some, but I don't think it's going to slow down. Not in the next few years. I don't see it. I talk to a lot of people that are in the industry, but we never know.
Okay, that covers all of the questions. I do want to just, again, Ramon, thank you so much for taking your time just to kind of educate and enlighten us about the fix and flip process. Definitely, if you have questions specifically related to self-directed, feel free to reach out to me. Visit our website, give me a call. I'm happy to talk through your scenario with you. Definitely feel free to reach out to Ramon and his team at Flipology, University of Wealth Building. Ramon, do you have any last comments before we disconnect?
Nope. You know what I always say? Just make sure you go take action. Don't keep reading books and, no matter where you're doing this at, don't keep looking at YouTube. Take action so you won't regret it. If you take action and something doesn't go as planned, you can always fix it. But if you don't ever take action, you're going to live with regret. So taking action is the most important step of all of this.
I would agree. And when you're ready to take action on your self-directed account, feel free to reach out to Advanta. Again, thank you everyone for taking the time to be a part of today's presentation. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Anika.
All right, have a good one.